Sirens, Slammers, and Service, a podcast for female first responders by female first responders. My name is Nikki Clucci, and I will be your host. As a former correctional officer in Alberta for almost 2 decades and the founder of Blue Line Fitness Testing, which provides law enforcement fitness testing and first responder wellness workshops, I started this podcast as a way for female first responders to share the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of their daily work. I want to showcase the unique perspectives, skill sets, and personalities that women bring to a first responder career and share their stories. So get ready to laugh your ass off, learn a whole bunch, and be inspired by some pretty badass women. Let's go. Hey guys, we are back with episode 6, part 2 with Angie Tetley from the Calgary Police Service. Angie is a sergeant with the recruiting unit there, and today she is going to share with us the recruiting process with Calgary Police. So the steps you need to take to kind of apply to Calgary Police, how you're going to move through the interview, and the physical fitness, and there's so much good advice that Angie gives us today. So let's jump right into it. And what is the very first step we need to take?
So you go to our website, join.calgarypolice.ca, and we'll walk you through the whole process. So we need to, and this goes for when I applied to 20 years ago, it is a challenging process, even to just apply, right? It takes multiple months. So you're going to fill out, you have to present us with a number of documents, your education documents, your driver's license, all that sort of identification, your official government documentation. And we got to go through that. And you're going to fill out a huge personal disclosure form where we are going to ask you wild questions. Basically, we don't need perfect people, but we need honest people. So we're going to ask you everything. We're going to ask you all about your drug use. We're going to ask all about your criminal history, like detected or undetected. So if you were at a pub, and you stole you went home with a pint glass, well, that's theft. Do you know what I mean? We're not going to go back and charge you for something like that, but we want to know. We want to know the things that people often ask, well, do I talk about the time where I stole change from my mom's purse? Yeah, you do. You tell us everything. And most of it, truly, most of it, we don't care. Honestly, we just want to know, and we want you to be honest with us, right? So tell us, I was at a party and I tried cocaine 4 years ago. Just tell us, and that's all we need to know. Because what happens, particularly in the recruiting process now that I've seen, is I think honesty is the biggest piece that really trips people up because they're embarrassed. They're embarrassed and they don't want to get in trouble. And they've done some things, whether it's sexual things or things they're not proud of or whatever, they're embarrassed. And so what happens is, if you intentionally lie to us, so in your personal disclosure form, and then maybe you lie about it again in an interview, and then you lie about it again at the beginning of your polygraph, and at the end of the polygraph, you're like, oh, actually, I got to come clean about this. Well, it's kind of too late now. Now you've proven that you're willing to lie to the police intentionally 5 times. And we've given you the opportunity to be honest. So if I can give anyone any advice, I'll give you lots of advice throughout this process probably. But the big one for me that I think has stood out, and it's just anecdotally, I don't have statistics or anything, but is the honesty piece. Just tell us. Most of the time, we're like, okay, I promise you, we have heard it all. There are things that I will not even disclose on it, where your eyeballs bug out of your head and you're like, oh my God, is that even possible? How shocking things that people have disclosed, right? And so whatever you have to say, I promise you, we've heard it before. So just tell us. We don't, like I said, we don't need perfect people. We need honest people. So anyways, once you've filled out this form, you get a pre-screen. So a police officer will go through your application and your package. And if there's any red flags, if you had some criminal history, because you need to be 3 years clear of any criminal offense, detected or undetected. So, if you're not 3 years clear, then you're going to get deferred. So after your file's pre-screen, then you're going to get assigned to do the written testing. And there's been some very recent changes, as of yesterday with the written testing, as far as before when you wrote your APCAT, if you failed 3 times, that was an immediate lifetime deferral. they've gotten rid of that now. So now you can write it more. Like that's literally just happened yesterday. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say anything, but too late.
By the time the episode airs, it'll be common knowledge. Don't worry.
Probably, yeah. So the written testing, and for that, I definitely recommend preparing, right? Like it's something you can study for. There are resources, and the Calgary Police Service very recently have started a written testing workshop that we are going to start offering soon. So again, that join.calgarypolice.ca website, we can help you through that process. Once you've done written testing, then it's the APREP, and that's where Nikki and Blue Line Fitness comes in, right? Like that's where you can. It's challenging, right? And particularly for women, right? It's something a lot of people have awesome communication skills, are, great at talking to people, will make great police officers, but they haven't really considered how physical of a job policing is. Just wearing this uniform with our vest and the belt, just wearing it every day takes a physical toll on your body, right? Yep. Working night shifts as we get older, like even when you're young, but particularly as you get older, is very challenging physically. Yeah. So then in the middle of the night shift, you got to get off your butt and get into a foot chase with some 250-pound dude and fight them, for whatever, you know what I mean? And to get control of them, you need to be physically fit and strong, right? So it's so important that those, we often tell people who maybe aren't quite there yet, if you're afraid or you have concerns about passing the APREP or the physical fitness testing, pump the brakes on your application. And like we were just talking about, change your life, because you need to have not only good physical fitness, good mental health, good emotional, you know what I'm saying? Like everything needs to be it's all interconnected, right? And
you need to be a healthy, full being. Yeah,
100%,
for sure.
100%. So again, we have a number of resources. We literally just started, like right before this. I'm glad this isn't like on video for real, because we just did this new program. EPS has been doing it for a long time, and I'm not going to lie, we totally stole it from EPS. But Run with a Recruiter. Yeah. So we just started ours. Like literally today was our second time. So it's just things you can, like resources that we're offering people to help prepare. So we have these Run with a Recruiter. Thank you, EPS. Copyright EPS. So whatever. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
But we also offer a boot camp for women, a women's only boot camp. These are for, at this time, applicants only. So you have to have pushed the button to attend one of these boot camps. And we have like an unbelievable fitness unit that runs this amazing program. I actually just went last night with some of the attendees last night, just to like work out with them and hang out. So it's this amazing 8-week program, free, that we offer applicants to help them prepare and be successful, not only to just pass the APREP, because let's be honest, the APREP is the bare minimum, right? Yeah. Once you get into classes, they're going to kick the shit out of you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you're like, maybe you've, like me, I was a ski bum waitress. I'd never gotten in a fight before. You know what I mean? So now I got to learn to fight. So like I was just saying to the women yesterday in the class, like starting recruit classes, I didn't know anything about shooting guns. I didn't know anything about the criminal code. I didn't know anything about criminal law. I didn't know anything about anything, but I knew how fit I was. So that was like coming into classes, I was a machine. I was like, that was the fun part, right? Like doing PT, doing subject control tactics. I learned the techniques, but I was fit. So I highly recommend anyone who's considering going into policing to get that dialed, right? Like it just makes the experience so much better, right? Like
we say that for that, like you said, for any agency, RCMP, you don't want to be going to depot and having to worry about doing extra fitness because you can't pass the pair at depot because now they've taken it away. You don't need to pass it before you get there, or like the pass time is like ridiculously easy, right? EPS, you don't want to be going in at the bare minimum because you're going to get your ass kicked. CPS, same thing. Sheriffs, you're going to go do 9 weeks of training. They're going to test you on the first day. They're going to make you run the fitness test on the first day. Like you don't want to be coming in and that's your worry, is if you're fit enough, because you got so much other stuff to learn. And like you're saying, like you can prepare for your fitness, you can prepare for the written test, you can prepare for your fitness. Like those are things that are within your control, unlike other parts of the process, right? Like you're saying, there's different things where if you've done something really bad or it's within the last 3 years, you're not going to move forward.
Yeah.
But you can do the written test, you can study for that, and you can get your fitness up and you can prepare for that. So yeah, I 100% agree. And I really do see on my side of things, people vastly underestimating these physical tests. And they think, they come in and they're like, yeah, I'm at the gym like 1 or 2 times a week. And I'm like, well, you about to die in this test. And they're like, no, I'm really fit. And I'm like, well, let's see.
We'll see. Yeah.
Let's see how that goes. Right. And then afterwards
Yeah.
they're like, Nikki, you weren't lying. Like, you weren't
Yeah.
exaggerating at all. And I'm like, no, I'm not exaggerating. I've seen 1,000 people do these tests and I know what level of fitness you need to be at. And I love you, but you're not there yet. Right.
Totally.
So yeah.
Yeah, you're 100% right. It's so important. And we have, this month, August is our focus is on fitness. So, some of our social media and stuff we're gonna do some Instagram stories and stuff like that, focusing on the fitness piece, because inevitably particularly for women, a lot of the questions and concerns are related around the fitness piece. And like the bottom line is, it's a physical job. It's a very physical job. Maybe one day you'll get into a role where you're doing administrative or you're doing more investigations and you're not really in that, but that is way in the future, right? Like everyone starts off on patrol and you're taking calls and you're in the trenches. We're the first line of defense, right? So we're there first. We're there before the TAC team, right?
Yeah.
We're going to those hot calls. We're getting into big fights. We're getting into, we have to control people to keep people safe.
Yeah.
Right? That's our job. So I can't stress enough how important the physical preparation, and you're 100% right. Like, this is all you. We can't get you there. That's you. You have to have that intrinsic motivation to get
totally.
there. Yeah. So anyways, after the physical testing, the next step would be your interview, right? And again, this is something that you can easily prepare for early. We were, just at Run with the Recruiter this morning, I had this conversation with the teammates that were there. And even before you apply, like for our interviews, it's a behavioral descriptive interview. So that just means we're not going to ask you hypothetical questions or what would you do in this situation. We're going to say, tell us about a time in your life when. And we have certain competencies, that we want to make sure that you can demonstrate those competencies. Like, how do you handle stress? How do you make decisions? How do you persevere through challenging situations? How do you take initiative? How do you prove that you value service and diversity for people who aren't like you? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so important in policing that we're going to deal with all walks of life, all different cultures, all different, economic backgrounds, and people who are having the worst day that they've ever had in their whole life. And we need to know that you can help them, and you have no biases. I mean, we all have biases. Everyone has biases, obviously, but we want to know how you treat people who are different than you. If you're a man, how do you treat women? If you're a woman, how do you treat men? How do you treat people from different cultures, from the LGBTQ community, from whatever, right? Like, we want to make sure that you treat people with dignity and respect, like in all situations.
And that you're a professional at all times, at all times, despite, like you said, despite what your personal biases are, despite where your personal moral and ethical compass lies. 100%. Just, you still have to, and this is actually last episode, we were talking about the same thing about, you still have to have that sense of humanity for this person that you're dealing with, whether they are, a
pedophile or whatever.
Exactly. Or a top, member of society who's trying to get out of a speeding ticket, right? Like, you still have to have that respect, that professionalism, and that ability to complete the role that you're being asked to do, right? And I think it goes back to what you're saying about honesty, right? Is that there has to be, in policing and law enforcement, we are pretty much very much a black and white kind of society. We have rules and regs and policies that we have to follow and that we have to uphold. And, some of them are legislated by the criminal code or, for us, the Corrections Act, things like that. And then there's a lot of gray in the middle. But at the end of the day, the law is the law and the rules are the rules. And our job is to uphold that. And so we have to know that you can't be manipulated as an officer. We have to know that, despite the personal circumstance of whoever you're dealing with, the law is the law and you need to uphold that law, right? And so I agree with you. I think that, but you don't have to be a dick about it. You don't have to be, right? You don't have to hold judgment over those people and pass that judgment. You just have to be there and this is the law and this is what we're doing and this is what, and I know it sucks and I know you don't like it and I know you don't agree, but
Yeah,
this is what it is. So we're going to
totally.
carry on with our day now. Right. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's, that's why the process to become a police officer is so challenging and so in depth. So this interview piece and knowing that you have, you know, been in situations before and how you've acted is going to demonstrate to us how you're going to act in the future as a police officer, as someone with authority, right? What I was going to say about the interview pieces, this is again something that you can prepare for beforehand, right? Like now, if you have a journal, if you have like a notes on your phone or whatever, like start brainstorming some circumstances or examples that you've had in your life that were like stressful, or where you had to make a difficult decision, or had to use your interpersonal skills to really, avoid a conflict or something like that. You can start working and preparing that now, because the interview is a super challenging part of the process, right? Like you're right now, a lot of them are still done online just because people are all over the place. So we do our on Teams or whatever, and so you're being interviewed by 3 police officers. So it's intimidating, it's challenging, it's nerve-wracking. So the more you can prepare for that, those are, like I say, I think those are the 2 things that you can really prepare for before your physical fitness and the interview, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we need to know that you can talk to people and that you are not going to panic or get in. Like that's what we do, man. Like that's all day, every day. We talk to people like in really challenging, horrible, traumatic, and sometimes great circumstances, right? So your communication skills are extremely important throughout the process, right? So after the interview, we also do psychological testing. Again, something you can prepare for. We don't need anything, like you just have to fall within a normal range. Do you know what I mean? And often it's funny because I actually just had to do a psych test for another unit that I was applying for, and I had to get a follow-up with the doctor, and I was like, did I fail the psych test? Like, I've been on
Has 20 years changed me?
Totally. So he interviews me and he's like, so it says here on your psych test that you take prescription medication that isn't your own to fall asleep every night. And I was like, no, I don't. And he's like, well, it says right here, and it's just like one of those multiple choice tests.
Yeah.
And so he's like, make a note to self, Tetley can't read. And I'm like, oh my God. I like just filled in the wrong little bubble. Do you know what I mean? And then the other one, which you'll laugh at this one, it says here also that sometimes you feel like smashing things. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I play rugby, man. Like, I feel like smashing things all the time. It's awesome. Like,
that's why I play rugby. Because weekly I get to smash things. You should see me in January when I haven't played for like 3 months and I'm like raging out.
I need to smash some things. So anyways, it was pretty funny. But so if there's some concerning questions on your psych test, which there was for me, you'll just do like a follow-up with the psychologist. And then after that is the polygraph. Again, something you cannot and should not prepare for. Like you don't want to go online and be like, how do I beat the polygraph? Like, do not do that. It's just, again, like we talked about before, it's that honesty piece. And throughout, like the other thing I was going to say is throughout this process, you fill out your personal disclosure form. Things are going to come up and you'll be like, oh my God, when I was 21, I drove home and I had 6 beers after I went golfing. I don't think I was drunk, but tell us. Just email your file manager and be like, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you I ate, 3 cannabis gummies, whatever. Do you know what I mean? We don't care.
Yeah.
Like, we don't care about any of that stuff, but we just want you to tell us. Comes out in the polygraph, then it's like, well, were you intentionally holding this back? Like, just tell us. And I'll tell you what, like, did you guys have to do polygraph for corrections?
No, we don't. It's something that I think we need to bring in. We also need to bring in psych exams. We don't have a psych exam. And I think that is like the number one that we should be doing.
It's interesting. Like I have mixed feelings about this, to be totally honest, but to take a polygraph exam, you will feel like the biggest piece of shit. Like I'm a nerd. Like I'm a total nerd. I haven't done anything bad in my life. Like honestly, at the time I'm like a little angel, right? And I do this polygraph and it's awesome because I'm doing this polygraph test with someone who's like friends with my dad. So I'm like telling him about like my sexual exploits and you're like, oh my, and he's gonna go for coffee with my dad after this. So cool, thanks. But you just feel like you feel disgusting, like you're like, I'm the worst person ever, because they just bring out everything in you and so good at their job. And anytime you have any sort of reaction, they'll be like, what's going going on here, you know? And
Yeah.
so anyways, it's not fun. It's
Yeah.
like literally like TV. They strap you up with all the things, and it's not a fun. You just be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even if something does come up in the polygraph, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't tell my file manager. Like, just be honest. After the polygraph, then we do a super thorough background check where we're going to contact all of your employers and people in your life, your neighbors, your references, and then some, right? Like if we have a conversation with someone, they're like, oh, actually, you should really talk to so-and-so. So we're going to talk to so-and-so.
Yeah.
We're going to find out exactly who you are as a person, you know, how you interact with people in your day-to-day life, not just putting on a show for a new job. We want to find out everything about you. And then once that's done, then you go to selection, and hopefully you get that amazing phone call. Like I remember I was listening to your first, and you talk about when you get the job, like
yeah.
oh my gosh, like I can't believe those suckers hired me. Like
yeah. Totally. And then, oh my God, what the fuck do I do now? Holy shit.
Now what do I do? Yeah. Yeah. So recruit classes for us, we're so fortunate. We have this beautiful facility up at Westwinds in North Calgary, where it's like state of the art. We have 25 weeks. And it's day shift, so it's nice. Like it's just Monday to Friday kind of a thing. 25 weeks of classes, and the term that often gets thrown around is drinking from a fire hose, right? Like you start off classes, and you're gonna do criminal law and municipal law, provincial law. You're gonna do diversity training. You're gonna do subject control tactics, fighting, learning how to drive emergency vehicles. You know, learning how to use all of our equipment, firearms, like officer safety. It is intense. It is very, very intense training, and you got to be like fully committed. We have a lot of people recently who are like, our recruits are often older. Like this is typically a second career for a lot of our recruits. So back in the day, I was 24 when I started. I was one of the youngest, and I would say on average, our classes are probably more in the mid to late 30s of people starting. And we often get asked, it is kind of awesome. So there's a lot of moms, like people coming in who waited until their kids were a little bit older to start. So it's pretty cool.
I really love that. That's really cool. Because I would have thought that the demographic would have still been quite young, like coming out of high school, or well, I guess post-secondary now, because you usually need to have some version of post-secondary, right?
Well, you actually don't. Like high school.
Okay.
High school is the minimum education. Post-secondary is gonna be a benefit for you, because you're obviously going to also get some life experience. But really the education is just high school.
Okay.
But yeah, it's people often ask like about the age limit. You have to be 18 at least. I mean, I will say we actually recently just hired a 19-year-old, and we were like, holy shit, like I can't believe we hired this guy at 19. But he was awesome. Like he had an amazing life experience, had traveled and had supervisory roles. Like we couldn't say no to this kid.
Yeah.
Like, so we had everything we needed, but that is rare, right? That is really rare. But the other question is, what's the top age limit? And the truth is there isn't one. Like there isn't a max cap, but you got to be realistic with yourself, right? So like I'm 44, and working night shifts gets harder as we get older. So you got to know that when you come in, like we've just harped on for 20 minutes, it's a very physical job. And working night shifts, especially as you get older, gets harder just on your body and your everything, right? But if you have good physical fitness, you have good mental health, you have a good support system, you have ways that you can sleep during the day, like you know what I mean? Like you can do it. We have people starting classes in their late 40s, early 50s even, right? So it's
love it.
It's
well,
crazy.
And I think like you said though, like I mean, it's that life experience. When they bring that life experience forward, and I have lots of people, because we do interview prep through Blue Line too, mostly for peace officer positions and corrections positions, but you know, when I was a manager, I bless those like 19-year-olds who are, you know, wonderkins and, you know, have all this life experience, but a lot of them are coming in really young. And again, like me at 22, like zero freaking clue about any of this, right? Whereas I get an ex-military, you know, female or male coming in at 35, 40, who has retired from the military and they're looking for that second career. I'm like, I want this guy. Yeah. Do they have, you know, do they have the justice diploma? No. Do they have, you know, have they worked in law enforcement? No. But I know that this person is going to listen to orders. They're going to follow direction. They're going to have their head on a swivel. They're going to be, you know, like with it and aware. And they have dealt with people for the last 20 years of their lives.
That's the most important thing, I think.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So
they can talk to people, and they're not coming in with that, because because I feel like, and I think it's across law enforcement, and it's not everybody, it's not everybody, but some people, you put a uniform on and they become, in their mind, Superman, right? They've got that uniform on, and I wear the uniform, so you will fucking listen to what I say. And I'm like, you're about to get your ass kicked by that con if you go out there with that fucking mentality, because just because you have this uniform on doesn't mean shit, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you can go out there and you can laugh and joke and you can talk to the inmate, or to the, again, for you guys, in the public eye, right? And you can have that rapport and you can build up that, conversation, and be able to de-escalate it just by, by your presence and just by talking the person down. That's what I'm looking for. I don't need some jacked up 22-year-old who can fight his way out of, chains and stuff like that. I don't give a shit about that. You shouldn't get to that situation in the first place. You should be at, let's talk it down, and then we're out and everybody's safe, right? So yeah, I that life experience and that ability to talk to people is top. Yeah.
We had in my last team in 8th District, our last 2 rookies that came out were grown-ups, right? Like the one guy has, he was married, has kids, like one of his sons had like some disabilities and some medical issues. The other guy was a pastor, right? So his previous life, he was a pastor. These guys were our money.
Yes.
Like we can teach you like the processes, and we can teach you that, but these guys could go into situations. The other guy was firefighter and a bouncer, right? So they just had that skill to talk to people, right?
Yeah.
And we can teach you how to drive. We can teach you how to use a taser. We can teach you how to all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the talking with people, those interpersonal skills, those the confidence without the cockiness, right? Like those are invaluable. And I love when people come in, it's like their second career, like the diversity to your team, right? So
yes.
It's not just like a bunch of guys who all went to high school, got their criminology degree, were a security guard, and then joined the police. Like boring. Sorry.
Yes, totally.
So we had,
totally agree.
This guy who came in as a pastor, he was awesome, like totally different outlook on life. And he was, one of the older guys on the team, and we like listened. He was awesome. I just love that.
Well, and no, but and like that's the thing too, right? Because those people that come in, even though they're the rookie, the rest of the shift or the rest of the troop or the platoon or however, how it works within your agency, they learn from them, right? If you're partnered up with this guy and you see how he handles a call or how he handles a person, it's inevitable that some of that is going to rub off on then how you address your next call or how you're going to your next thing. And you're like, oh, like he said this or he used this, like, I'm going to try that out and see, right? Sometimes it works for you. Sometimes it doesn't work for you, but like you learn from those people, you learn from their experiences, you learn from their mannerisms and their, even the tone of their voice or how they hold themselves physically. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, right. So that experience and stuff, I love it. I think that's awesome. If people want to get a hold of you, we will throw your information in the show notes. If they got questions about recruitment, questions about joining Calgary Police, we will definitely be having you back on, just so you know, just so you're aware. I'm planning another episode with you on because we have so much more to talk about. But again, I love you. Thank you so much. Like I said, your stories and your knowledge are just top notch. So I appreciate you.
It was super fun. I love chatting with you too, and really excited for this new venture for you. It's very cool and inspiring, like as a leader and an entrepreneur. And anyways, you should be really proud of yourself, because I'm very inspired by you. You're awesome.
Bless. I love you. You're so cute. You're so cute. Such a dorky nerd.
Guilty.
All right. Well, that's it for today, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and stay tuned for our next episode with another badass female first responder. Well, that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for listening, tuning in, and sharing your time and energy with us. Make sure you check out our next episode starring another badass female first responder on Apple, Spotify, or TuneIn. And make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Blue Line Fitness Testing. Stay safe and keep your head on a swivel.